of 19 states that he's sending the National Guard to, including Chicago, Illinois. Donald J. Trump has a list of 19 states that he's sending the National Guard to, including Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago's a killing field right now. And they say, we don't need him, freedom. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator.
Now, as a born and raised Chicagoan, I know that some people in the city have been wondering why the National Guard wasn't called in earlier. But is Donald Trump really doing this to clean up America? No, because as usual in the United States, some people just don't matter to the federal government. Of all the states he announced for deployment, strangely, out of the top 5 most dangerous cities in America, only one of their states is on the list. That being Tennessee, since Memphis by crime rate is the most dangerous city in America. But instead of Oakland or fucking St. Louis, this man is sending the National Guard to Nebraska. Also, instead of Detroit or any part of Michigan, he's sending the National Guard to Wyoming. What? Why? And Utah, the Mormon state. South Dakota too? Okay, so clearly this is not about cleaning up crime, right? Have you ever been to St. Louis? Now it's important to remember that Chicago, New York, and LA, just due to the sheer size of these cities, none of them are even top 25 in the most dangerous category. Seriously, visit St. Louis and then go to Chicago. I promise, Chicago looks like Tokyo, Japan in comparison. No offense to my St. Louis people, but y'all know what's going on. Y'all got gang-banging city people and trigger-happy country people, and the state is open carry. I'm not coming. But people only think the biggest cities are the most dangerous because crime in smaller cities is seriously underreported. Except in Florida, where it's so crazy that even the news in Tampa put together a Florida man arrest compilation on YouTube. So what actually is the purpose of this mobilization? Now, I've heard people say that, oh, this is how Donald Trump is going to take over and force a third term, but he still has until 2029, so it's a bit early, and he'll be 83 in 2029, by the way, so he'll likely be closer to Joe Biden in 2024.
There should be an age limit on presidents. Why is somebody who's 83 running our country? First of all, you was raised and our country was a completely different place, and you're the president, so you're not out here living in this country. You didn't go to no type of school or nothing. There should be an age limit on presidents. Like, come on, bro. Joe Biden was falling out, passing out while he was president. What are we doing here? I know the presidents don't run the country. It got to be somebody over them or the government. I don't know, but we need an age limit. It don't make sense at all.
And a dictator trying to take over the country. He's holding up okay for a 79-year-old, but why? First, he sent the National Guard to D.C., which already had the highest ratio of police officers to civilians in the entire country. And is he trying to scare a governor? Well, probably not, because pretty much aside from Virginia and New Mexico, every state that he sent the National Guard to voted for him in 2024. And the White House even announced that the National Guard is not coming to these states for a crime crackdown. They're actually only there to assist the DHS and ICE facilities. But in Wyoming and Nebraska, am I missing something? Wyoming doesn't even have an ICE facility. The closest one is like in Denver. In fact, from January to June, the only serious criminal conviction by a person arrested by ICE in Colorado and Wyoming was a drunk driver. Donald Trump said he was targeting the worst of the worst. Well, you're probably not going to find many illegal or legal immigrants for that matter that are in any rush to move to Nebraska or Wyoming. Is he just becoming senile like Joe Biden? Has all of the making fun of Sleepy Joe finally caught up with him? They're only 4 years apart in age, by the way. And I must admit, Donald Trump was a lot more lively back in 2016.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
But seriously, he is the second oldest living president after Joe Biden. He's actually older than George Bush. So is he losing his mind? Or is this a bigger play? Now, the skeptic in me believes that there has to be a reason for this. And the messed up part is, many people, like some in Chicago, actually believe the National Guard is being sent there to clean up the crime because that's what the president said out of his mouth. But the White House says that's not what they're there for. Imagine pretending to clean up crime and leaving St. Louis and Oakland, California alone. But seriously though, with the age issue, political advisor and former Republican from Florida, Rick Wilson, says he doesn't even believe Donald Trump's brain will make it through his entire presidency, as he claims he spotted signs of cognitive decline, which is obviously common for a guy his age.
The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously.
President Trump was at a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and said the following, and we just signed a document. We just signed it so we have our trade agreement with the EU.
So our president brain is about to fail midterm, is what they saying? Oh my God. Good luck to America. What the
Britain has not been a party to the EU for 5 years.
Eating the dogs.
Yes, Donald Trump is a real person.
And I have to cover the fact that Donald Trump also fired the Commissioner of Labor Statistics. Now, on average, the American economy creates around 100,000 jobs a month. But in July of 2025, we only created about 73,000. And despite the fact that this is true, Trump accused the woman of lying and claims this latest report was a scam to make Republicans and himself look bad, despite the fact that her position was confirmed by votes from the Republican and Democrat parties, pretty much unanimously. Even J.D. Vance voted for her. I have never heard the Bureau of Labor Statistics questioned until now. But we should have seen this coming when he said the Haitians were eating dogs and cats. I have personally been around a lot of Haitians in my life, including one of my buddies from Miami that used to cut my hair in college, and every Haitian I ever met was either a club promoter or a guy that worked 12-hour shifts. I have, of course, seen some of them involved in voodoo or Santeria, but I've never seen them hurt a dog or a cat. In fact, many of them I know had pets themselves that they noticeably did not eat. What a crazy thing to say, by the way. And I know many people will see this video and say, oh, he's just a damn Democrat. Like, hell nah, bro. I think Joe and Don were both too old for this. And Kamala was almost as scary as J.D. Vance is weird.
Go fuck the couch, J.D. Vance!
But when you only get two choices, the word democracy is pretty pointless, right? Shouldn't the presidential election come down to like a 10 or even 5-person race at the end, instead of it just starting with multiple candidates who end up getting a lot of money and donations from running the campaign, only to drop out and support one of the only two real candidates once they realize they don't have a chance to win? Even Canada has more parties in power than us.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
And Switzerland, you know, the country that ranks among the highest in the world for quality of life, is run by a council of 7 with a chancellor at the head. And they all form a coalition of parties, which for my Americans that have never seen anything outside of a donkey and an elephant, a coalition is a group of multiple parties working together. Donald Trump also said this.
So dropping drug prices, it'll start over the next 2 to 3 months by 1,200, 1,300, and even 1,400% and 500%.
And I'm not a math teacher or anything, but you can't drop the price of something by more than 100%, right?
Oh
You can raise
God.
the price of something by 1,400%, but to drop the price of something by over 100% would mean that the seller actually pays the buyer. He went to the University of Pennsylvania. He has an economics degree. Obviously, I don't think he's an idiot, but he probably should have run for president in the 90s, because when both of them were born, the average World War II veteran was still in his 20s. By the time these two guys were 40, there wasn't even a law against drinking and driving in half the country.
Any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting common is when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving.
There's a baby in the front seat of this car. I'm sure that this lady is probably a sweet 70-year-old grandma somewhere right now, but my goodness, can somebody check on this baby? What a crazy world people lived in before the internet. And I know that from the outside, Donald Trump mobilizing the National Guard might look like some kind of hostile takeover, but he's already in charge, right? And as I said earlier, it's way too early for him to be trying to force a third term because he still has until 2029. Or maybe he's so old that he actually thinks he's already been president for 4 years, and maybe in his mind there's an upcoming election that he's trying to force the vote for. It kind of made sense whenever he said that it was about cleaning up crime, but then when the White House put out a statement saying that it wasn't about that and it was just about helping ICE and DHS, it just made it much more confusing. Like, what kind of help does ICE need in Wyoming? What kind of help does ICE need in Nebraska? Is there some kid in Venezuela right now just dreaming of moving to Omaha or Cheyenne? Am I missing something? Or is all of this just a distraction from a certain list of files that we know we'll never get? And honestly, if that's true, then he's even more senile than I think he is already. Because he can just continue lying, right? And just sweep it under the rug. It's not like we can force the FBI to do anything. We can just speculate and make silly YouTube videos. You don't have to mobilize the National Guard for a cover-up. And I heard a rapper still got robbed in Washington, D.C., even with the National Guard there. But whatever, man. I'm just a silly YouTuber. What do I know? But thank you guys for watching as always.
So basically, Donald Trump is about to just put the National Guard out for no reason in some of the loneliest states there is in this country. I mean, I'm glad he putting the National Guard out in Chicago, though, because the way people getting killed over there, they need some type of backup, but I'm just as confused as y'all are. Good luck to us with that type of president. I was a fan of him first term when he was up and running. Now it look like he's shut down. They talking about his brain might fail in the middle of the term. Good luck to us. God bless America. How do you say it? How do you say it again? how do you say it? Allah Akbar. Thanks for watching, y'all.